Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show today. I'm really glad everybody could join us. So today we're going to be talking about starting a new business from idea to first funding. We're talking about how you go from a concept of a business and the things you're going to do initially all the way through to getting initial funding. We're going to talk about 9, 10 or more different ways you can get money, even if you're just starting the business. But look, before you even think about getting the money, there's some things you're going to want to get in place first regarding credibility. There's going to be some things you're going to want to think through before you even set up the business. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of those things. For those of you that don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the CEO here at Credit Suite. And at Credit Suite, this is what we do. We help business owners obtain business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social and getting all different types of money. So we deal with thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses that are going from concept to getting initial funding. And this is kind of an overview of the experience that they've had and some things that you don't want to overlook as you're going through this process yourself. So, look, the very first thing, and we get this question a lot. Look, I have $500 to spend. I have $1,000 to spend. I have X amount of money to spend. What kind of business should I get into? So if you're at that stage, well, look, creativity, you can get these ideas from anywhere. But again, what do you do that feels that like it takes too long? What feels inconvenient? What seems to be overly complicated? All those are areas that can spark business and franchise ideas. So if you're trying to find an idea for a business and you're saying, how can I make money? Where's the best place to make money? Which I get a lot of these questions. The answer is not that. The answer really comes down to how you can solve a problem. What problem can you help solve? The most successful businesses that you find typically have a problem that impacted the entrepreneur, the business owner, in a way that they then found the solution and decided to then bring that solution to other people. So for example, in my world, I owned a mortgage company at the height of the mortgage industry. The whole thing collapsed. It pushed me almost to the end of personal bankruptcy. So when I discovered business credit, then again, I found a way to simplify a process, or with the help of a team, found a way to simplify the process that was very complicated for people of getting business credit. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wouldn't have emotionally been attached to what was going on. So first, what problem are you looking to solve? If you don't know that, then what's an inconvenience to you now? What are you emotionally attached to now? What are you doing, or have you had exposure to now that you think you can find a better way to do it? Okay. So how do you feel about your business? It's not just about making money. It's your passion. It's your calling. It's what you feel personally that you're driven to do. And this is the problem I get with people asking the question of, look, I have this much money. What kind of business should I open? The problem is anybody that runs a business will tell you this is a lot of ridiculously hard work. It's common to do 80-hour plus weeks in the beginning. It's common to do 60 plus hour weeks many years into owning the business sometimes. So in order for you to dedicate the time and energy you have to, you got to have this really be something that you're passionate about. If it's not something you're truly passionate about, you won't be able to dedicate the hours. Now, that if you don't know what that is, well, then find something that you think is an inconvenience. Find a hole in the market and get into it. And eventually that may lead you where you're going, right? So that's where it was in my world. I opened a mortgage company because I owned a mortgage business. And then I got into consumer credit. And then it took me through this journey to find out what I'm really passionate about. And this is what I'll probably be doing for the rest of my professional years because I found it. But I ran businesses before I got to that point. I just couldn't get a business to be super successful unless I had that kind of passion. That's why if you're in a position where you can get that before you even get started, you're much better. So you'll probably work about 10, 15-hour days sometimes in the beginning and get set up. It's exciting. It's also tiring, and it sometimes can feel overwhelming. These are things you need to know when you're in the beginning stages of the business. I got into this in owning a business because I wanted to be there and spend time with my kids at their sporting events. But like most of us that get in to have more time, what we realize is that running a business is oftentimes more time consuming than actually working for somebody. So you just have to have these expectations coming in. Okay. So what can you do that's unique? This is a niche, right? What can you focus on? What drives you? Starting a business again, I've talked about it being a passion, but you also really want to form a niche. And so let me give you an example here. We found the niche, business credit. Nobody was really in this niche, and we found it and owned it. But a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are getting into credit repair, let's say, or a real estate agent. You're already in an area that there's already a lot of people in. If that's the case, that's okay. then niche it down. Find a sub niche within that you can then do. So for example, maybe you're not credit repair. Maybe you're credit repair specifically for the purpose of helping people get home loans, right? Most people are fixing their credit to get home loans. Maybe you're credit repair just for a certain industry like truck drivers. One of my friends, Angela Setters, she just does it for athletes. That's all she does. She's credit repair for athletes. And she just works with athletes, and her services are like $10,000 much or more. She's found a really select niche to work within. So sub niche it down. If you're a real estate agent, maybe you're not going to be a real estate agent. Maybe you're going to be a real estate that only deals with this certain sector. Maybe you only deal with people that are transplanting and moving from New York to Florida or whatever it may be. So again, find a niche, find a passion. If you're in an industry that already has other people, you must niche it down. You don't want to do this shotgun approach of trying to market to everybody when you could do a sniper approach just to a select niche. So for example, if you just do credit repair and you put a message out there that you fix credit, well, then it's going to be much different than Angela, who goes, look, I fix the credit of high performance athletes and has testimonials from those athletes. Athletes would go to her because she has a niche and you don't. So when you find a niche, you can dominate a sector, a niche within a sector, even if there's already a lot of people there. So where will you stand out? How about trying to put a new spin on the established industry? Okay, Airbnb, Uber, make something stronger, faster. When we look at what's happening now, we're really in a world where using other people's assets as the foundation of your model is what we're dealing with, right? So when we look at Uber, for example, they use other people's cars as the foundation of their model. Outdoorsy uses other people's RVs that are rented as their model. Airbnb is other people's homes. So we're getting into this world where you getting and using other people's assets and resources to grow your business is really becoming the lay of the land. But they also put a new spin on something, right? Renting houses, renting an apartment, getting a place to stay when you're in town somewhere like a hotel, getting access to a taxi. They put a new spin on an industry. But here's what's interesting about them. They were able to do it because of technology. The reason Uber came around was because all of a sudden we all had cell phones with GPS and it could become around. So what you find when you study what really happens with these companies is that something happened technologically, typically, or something has changed in the landscape to give them the ability to do something to stand out that couldn't have been done before that change came into place. So think about that. And an example of this is blockchain technology, right? How can blockchain technology, how can you use that to develop an industry, to develop a business, to develop an industry you're thinking about getting into? This is something new that wasn't around years ago. So that means you could do with things with it now that you couldn't have done years ago. It gives you, because the technology exists, it gives you a way to now come out and do something different in business than ever's been done before. Okay, so make something stronger, faster, easier, just more convenient. Match opportunity to your skills, experience, passion. Again, this all comes down to finding a niche, finding a way to solve a problem, finding something that you can stand behind with the knowledge and experience that you have and the passion that you have, a way to make a process, a product better, easier to use, more convenient, etc. When you can do that, that's when you're really able to find the right product, the right company, the right kind of niche to be able to get behind and set up. So the next thing, once you've done this, and this becomes so important because again, we're not building a business just to make money. When you do that, I promise you're probably going to fail. Okay. When you really realize that building a business is about helping other people get what they want, then you're going to be successful. If you're trying to build a business to get what you want, then it's going to be an uphill battle. Just hear that one message. When you really get behind something and say, look, I'm passionate about this, I want to help people solve this problem, then your whole world changes because, again, you're behind a mission, you're behind a cause, you're helping other people get what they want, which is the real key to success with getting what you want. So once you figure this out, now you've got to get the basics set up to get the funding, right? You got to choose a business name. In order to do this, search GoDaddy. I never think about a business name without seeing if a domain is available because I've been there before. The first business I ever built, or the second business I ever built, the name of my company was not the name of my domain. Well, it wasn't scalable. As we got bigger, people started to search our company's name.com. And since we didn't own that, we were sending traffic somewhere else. So think of a name that you can have the domain for. Some you may have to pay a premium for the domain. Some you and most you can get for $7 or $12. So when I'm thinking of a name, I'm brainstorming every name I could think of that's relative to what I want. If I want something, it's credibility, it's something that shows credibility, etc. And I'm listing every single name I can think of. And then I go to GoDaddy on every single one of those and see if any variables, any of those are available or any variables of those are available. Okay. Make sure that that domain's not already taken. And you also want to make sure it's easy to pronounce and spell. Believe it or not, Credit Suite, I thought would be easy. But then I didn't realize that people would misspell the word suite. So now every time we say our names, I have to say Credit Suite. That's Credit Suite, S-U-I-T-E. I have to spell it. Think about that. Are there other variants of a name that you're choosing to put or word in your name that it's going to be hard to pronounce, hard to spell? Don't put numbers and symbols and weird things. Don't misspell stuff. Don't put Biz Credit as B-I-Z Credit, because every time you say that your company's name is Biz Credit Rocks or whatever, then the problem is that you have to spell it every single time. So think about those things when you're actually setting up the business name. Okay, don't let your business sound too much like another business's name. You want it to be memorable. Numbers in the name mean you will forever be explaining if it's numerals or written out. So if you say your, Credit Suite 1, whatever, then every time you do that, you'd have to explain whether it's a number 1 or numerical 1. So I always like names that are fairly simple. I try to stick with stuff that's even 1, 2 syllables. I stick with stuff that's very easy to spell. Anybody that does with marketing and copywriting will tell you that it's preferred that you write to people with a 4th grade reading level. So the same thing with your name. It needs to be something that's easy. People know possibly what it is just by seeing the name, and then it's simple to spell. It doesn't have all these things that make names too complicated. Okay, get your ideas in writing. Map out a business plan. Who's your typical customer? How will you market to them? Get feedback from mentors. Okay, so when it comes down to this, first of all, I can tell you that you oftentimes do not need a business plan to get funding. That means you do not need a business plan in most cases to get funding. Private investors, venture capital, SBA, those type of people are going to want business plans, but those type of people are not people you're thinking about when you're starting a business. Those are type of lending options that aren't even going to be available for you for years to come. So what you need to really figure out is the business plan helps you figure out the basics of your business. Who is your typical customer? What are the demographics you serve? What are the competitors in your space? How will you market to them? Are other people marketing to them now? So I just heard a gentleman speak from Swift Capital. Swift Capital was recently acquired basically by PayPal. For the most part, they rolled out something called their business builder. PayPal bought that and they sold it for like a bunch of money. It's undisclosed, so we'll never know how much. Well, this is exactly what it came down to. When they came into it, they realized, hey, nobody's doing direct mail. So they got into direct mail to sell their loan product. Now, if you own a business, you already know I get 5 of these solicitations a day through direct mail. But when they got there, nobody was doing it. So when they mapped out their plan, they realized there was this hole in the market where nobody was marketing using one marketing method. They built a multi-million-dollar business and sold it for tens of millions of dollars, I would imagine, to a very big company. How did they do that? They had a plan, and when mapping out their plan, they realized there was a hole in the market when it came to a certain type of advertising for that product. Those are the things that business plans help you do. By writing out who your customer is, the market you serve, this will give you the general guide of running your business. One of my favorite shows is called Bar Rescue. Love this guy. John Taffer comes in, saves these bars. One of the first things he does in a lot of cases is looks at the demographic to make sure that the bar they're building fits the demographic. Do that. If you don't even know who you're trying to sell to, then it's going to be hard for you to obviously sell. Business mentors, people you know, they might be former bosses or family members who own companies. Okay, they can even be people who failed. Okay, but you want to make sure that you get somebody around you that has some kind of experience with what you're getting ready to go through. Warren Buffett has one of the best quotes I've ever said, which it's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. Mentors can tell you where you're going, help you anticipate, and help you avoid problems before they even happen. You can run ideas by them and get ideas. You can run problems by them and get suggestions. Mentors are very, very, very important. Okay. And the great thing is you don't have to pay them. In a lot of cases, people will mentor you because they want to mentor you. Maybe you want to give them percentage of ownership in the business. But I promise you, you'll grow a business substantially faster if you have access to mentors that have been where you're going that can help you get there. So once you've done this, once you've kind of set up this foundation, and again, even beyond mentors, getting yourself a coach, building a mastermind of like-minded people that are doing this and going about this together. The kind of collaboration can help you get to the end goal much faster than you would get to without this kind of collaboration. Setting up your business address. You're working from home. Well, you need a virtual address. What's a virtual address? You can go to creditsuite.com/virtual to access it. A virtual address is simply an address where you're renting a mailbox there, but it's not a UPS box. It's not a PO box. It looks like a real physical address. You're just renting the address. Okay, that's what a virtual address is. It gives you the credibility of working in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida, with actually working in your boxers from home. That's what a virtual address can help you do, okay? AllianceVirtualOffices.com, or you can go to creditsuite.com/virtual for this. And D&B recommends virtual offices as well. So it's a great way to go if you're setting up an address, but you never want to use a PO box or UPS address. These will oftentimes get you denied when it comes to getting loans and credit lines. Okay, do you need a real business address? Well, Entrepreneur Magazine says location's your number one concern. So you got to consider your target market. Again, why a business plan makes sense. When you understand who your market is, then it's easier for you to find a location that sits within the demographic that you're trying to seek out. And again, going back to my example of John Taffer and Bar Rescue, this is commonly what I see. The people did no demographic information, and then they came up with a bar concept that doesn't even fit the demographic where they actually are. So especially if you're going to be a brick and mortar location where people are going to walk in to do business with you, you need to do research to make sure your demographic is in that surrounding area. When you see Chick-fil-A's and McDonald's building up, they know who their customer is. They build in areas where that demographic is. So that's exactly what you should be doing, is finding out who your target market is, finding out where they are, finding out where your competitors are, and then again, make sure that you come in and go to a place that actually has the demographic of the customer you're looking for. And again, take advantage of their research. Well, this is what a lot of chains do. You see a McDonald's pop up. It's very common to see a Burger King pop up right around it. Why? They understand that each other's customer is each other's customer, and the fact that one of them has already done a ton of research already means it's probably a good location, and the other one has to do less research to actually get that done. Okay, so select a business entity, file with the Secretary of State. Look, you can go to LegalZoom. You can go to a lot of places that help you set up entities, but it's super simple to do through your Secretary of State. Super simple. So go to your Secretary of State. If you don't know what that website is, Google it. Secretary of State, Florida, for example. Okay, it's easy to set up and go through this process. Usually only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. If you're going to choose a sole proprietor, well, consider a DBA. So the business name isn't your personal name, but if you're going to set up an entity, you're better to choose a corporation or to choose or to even go with an LLC, a limited liability. Okay, because if you go with a limited liability company or corporation, then you can truly separate yourself from the liability of the business. The problem is the sole proprietorships and partnerships, you and the business are always one and the same. So that means you'll always be legally on the hook for what happens to the business. The business gets sued, you can get sued. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice, but I'm just telling you how the process works. When you are the one that is the business, then the business gets sued, you can get sued. If you default on credit, the business gets sued, you can get sued. So try to choose corporation. Try to choose an LLC versus sole proprietor or a partnership. But if you're going to go sole proprietor, at least get a DBA. Okay. Otherwise, your name is the actual business name, which is not what you want. So those are some advice to give you the right business entity. Now, beyond that, okay, the next thing you want to do is get your basics set up. Get a toll-free number and fax number. Okay. Now, nowadays, you can go to a place like Ring Central, and for like $15 a month, Ring Central will give you a phone number that is a toll-free number and that is a fax number. Why do you need a fax number? Because if you're going to fill out applications for credit and financing and they ask for a fax number, you always want to supply it. Why not? It's super cheap to get, and the fact that you have it instantly makes you look more credible. Okay, lenders and customers see these things as you being more legitimate. You also want to make sure that you get your phone number listed with 411. Why? When it comes to startup funding, when it comes to getting money as a startup, I'm going to tell you a little secret that most people don't know. There are things that lenders and credit issuers are looking at specifically with startups that they don't look at with seasoned businesses. And one of these things is 411 listing. And here's why. You can't fake 411. You can't go to 411.com and list your phone number. 411.com isn't even 411. There's no way you can go direct to 411 to list your phone number. You have to rely on them organically figuring out who you are, like finding you on Yelp and Google. Or you use a service like Yext, Y-E-X-T, Yext, and you pay them a bunch of money to do this for you, to list you with 411, or list yourself can list you with 411. And you spend hundreds of dollars a year to get it, but you can't fake it. So what they do is they want to see if a business is legitimate and has some kind of initial credibility. They look at 411. So by going to list yourself to get that number listed with 411, it's an important step when it comes to getting any kind of startup capital, especially business credit. But all of this combined builds that business credibility, the legitimacy. You got to remember, if you're trying to get money to start a business, then you're the one that controls how credible the business is to the actual company that you're applying for, whether it be lender or whether it be a credit issuer. You control it. So all these things we're talking about give the perception that you're a legitimate, credible, big business, and that's going to help make it easier for you to actually get the funding you need to get the business off the ground. Get a web domain, pro website, buy hosting, GoDaddy, it's super cheap to get, okay? Don't use Weebly or Wix because then your website's hosted on their domain. And a lot of lenders and credit issuers just do not like to see that. They want to see you own your own domain. Okay, you want it to be your domain, not a @wix.com. Okay, you can even use Upwork or Fiverr to help you set up the website. Look, if you're low on funds, which is a startup, let's expect that you probably are. Well, then, first of all, you can go to places like Monster Template and get a website template for very, very, very little money. monstertemplate.com, like 70 to 100 bucks. And you go to Upwork or Fiverr and get somebody to set up the website for you. Pay them 100 bucks. For 150, 200 bucks, you have a really nice looking website set up. You can also go to custommarketer.com. And if you go to custommarketer.com/credit suite, we have them give a special deal to our actual clients that are getting websites set up as well. Okay, even though a website comes with our partners, a lot of times partners want an even more elaborate website. So they do a very good job with websites too and are pretty affordable. So it gives you a few different options to be able to go with there. And you can also want to make sure you get a logo if you haven't already. Go to Fiverr to do that. It's super cheap. If you want to, go to 99 Designs. 99 Designs is where you're going to get the best logo, but it's a few $100 bucks to get. If you're doing it on a budget, do it on Fiverr. Okay, so but when you get a website, you need to have a website set up. You need to stop using Gmail and Yahoo email addresses. You need to use your website's domain's email or domain as your email address. My email is info@creditsuite.com. It coincides with our domain name. So some things to keep in mind as you're setting these aspects up. Work with the IRS, okay? Get your free EIN at irs.gov. It's the only place you can get a free EIN is irs.gov. So go there to get the EIN. All businesses have to pay taxes. Also check with your state's Department of Revenue or Taxation. Sometimes there's something you have to do here. Sometimes there's not. Okay, and typically if there is something you need to do here, they'll notify you by mail. Get set up now. Avoid nasty surprises later. Anything to do with the IRS is usually a nasty surprise. So go ahead and get your entity set up, get your EIN set up, and then check with your Secretary of State to see if there's anything else you need to do with them. Get all needed licenses. Check with your local Secretary of State. Check the city or town as well. Licensing requirements differ. It even industries based on or changes based on the industry that you're in. So in Florida, some counties require that you have certain permits and licenses, occupational licenses. Others don't. It's just weird down here. So it's the same there. I mean, sometimes your city, your town, your state, your county may have certain license or requirements that you must need. Sometimes your industry does. You may need to make sure that you have these things done because that's a common reason that lenders and credit issuers may choose not to lend you money. Get a bank account and the business name set up. Try the bank where you keep your personal accounts. This bank already knows you, okay? They know your reputation for paying your bills. This opens up financing options for you as well. Okay, so look, a business bank account is very important for a few reasons. One, even if they don't ask for bank statements, a lot of lenders and credit issuers are going to ask you for a bank reference, which is simply the person that works at the bank that is your contact at the bank. Because if you don't have a contact there, you're not going to have a bank reference. And if you don't have a bank reference, if you don't even have a reference where you have a bank account set up for the business, then lenders or credit issuers are not going to want to lend to you. So get the bank account set up so you have the reference. Secondly, you also want to get it set up because as the business grows and you get longer and further down the road, then a lot of lenders and credit issuers are going to start looking at the day you set up the business bank account as the day your business was established. And this is thanks to people that buy bogus shelf corporations and try to pass them off as their own. So again, the business bank account is very, very, very important. The business bank account also, or the bank also has their own internal score called a bank rating. And the score is based on many different factors, including how long you've had your account open for. So make sure that you get your bank account set up. For me personally, when I set up a new entity, here's the process I follow. I set up all the stuff. I then set up the entity, knock out the EIN, and knock out the bank account same day. I once did a test and I accomplished all three of those in less than an hour. So not a lot of time committed or cost to do this. Get a merchant account set up. Okay, now your business can accept credit cards, debit cards. There's plenty of places out there that set up merchant accounts for you. Studies show that customers will spend more if they can pay by card. It also increases your financing options. Here's my advice. Get an account with PayPal. Get an account with Square. Okay, those are some accounts that you want to get set up right away. And here's why. Because they make it really easy for you to get money using your deposits with them to do so. They have financing that you don't need a credit check for. They have financing where they'll give you 30% of whatever your deposits are. Their fees are super cheap. So no matter what you do, I think you should have a primary merchant account as we do. But we also do a lot of business through PayPal because it gives us more funding options and more flexibility as well. And that is my suggestion to you as well. Budgets and finance. Revisit your budget often, okay? Yeah, you got a budget. You don't like budgets? I don't either. But you know what? When you run a business, you got to have some kind of idea, especially in the early stages, what your outflows are, what your expenses and payroll, and what's going to be your inflow, what's your revenue. Okay, it can be tempting to just max your personal credit cards out, but don't do that, right? You'll ruin your personal credit. I mention this because this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make. They come in, they say, look, I'm going to build this business and I think it's going to take $5,000 because they didn't map out a proper business plan. And they say, well, I've got, $30,000 and $20,000 in credit cards, so let's do it. And then they put the $5,000 on the personal credit card. The problem is the 5 quickly turns to 10 and quickly turns to 20 because they didn't plan out how much they were going to actually spend on the business. The things they thought were going to work didn't work. The expenses they thought were going to be one thing were much higher. All these variables happen. Then what happens is the business owner, the entrepreneur, then maxes out their consumer credit cards. Then they come looking for help. Oh, you're done. You're screwed at that point. Because once you max out those credit cards, now every lender and credit issuer is looking at you like you're struggling, like you're problem, like you're desperate. That's the first thing you need to know. Lenders and credit issuers do not want to lend to desperate people because usually desperate people are the first ones that default. They want to lend to responsible people. They want to lend to people that are getting the money even before they need it. So when you come in and max out your credit cards, then you go looking for money. That is one of the biggest and easiest ways to get denied for loans and credit. Okay. The other problem is that 30% of your consumer FICO scores based on this utilization. So when you max out your credit cards, you ruin your personal credit score. So by doing this, what I'm telling you not to do, you would ruin your ability to get a lot of the financing we're going to talk about here in the future. So I'm going to talk about more ways you're able to get financing here. But again, if you're damaging your personal credit, it's going to make it really hard for you to do it. We're going to talk about different ways to do that. So early funding opportunities. Well, first, talk to people you know, family, friends, coworkers. They may want to be angel investors, okay? The money they can provide may be small, or you can consider crowdfunding as well. So look, 75% of business owners get started using money from family and friends. That's it. That's the way it is. I can't talk about getting money as a startup if I don't talk about what 75% of business owners do to get money. They go to family and friends to get money. It's probably a good idea. If you have a good concept and you don't have the money, then it's a good idea to go to other people that do and then make them angel investors. Maybe give them a percentage of ownership in the business as return for their initial investment. That's how angel investments work. So why not? What most people don't know is that there's half of what angel investors do is it's from people you know. Only half, only one segment of angel investing comes from people you don't know. The other segment of angel investing is completely driven around people you do know. So what I'm saying is that even though you might think angel investors is all about these angels coming in and investing your business, the real truth of it is that half of angels are people that the business owner knew to begin with. And then the other half come from where you go get a pitch deck and you pitch them, et cetera. So pitch to people you already know. Okay. Why? Do you believe in what you're doing? If you think you're onto something big and you're going to be able to do really well, then let your friends give you a little money where you can give them a lot more in return as you are doing well. Also choose crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is another great way to go. There's hundreds of crowdfunding platforms. You can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/credit suite, search crowdfunding. We've done webinars strictly on this topic. Crowdfunding is a great way to go if you have an interesting niche, an interesting product, something that's unique. Those are the things that typically work better for crowdfunding than in other places. Get more funding, more funding ideas. Leverage the assets you already have. Those may be retirement funds you saved, or the ability to line up investors, or your creativity, whether it be artistic or inventive. So what are the strengths you have? What are the assets you have? When I talk about physical, real assets, do you have stocks, bonds, 401ks, or IRAs? Do you know other people that do? If 75% of business owners get money from other people, then why not actually come in and go where the people are? Come in and go to make it easier for those people to give you money. If I'm going to go to grandpa and have him give me $5,000 to help me get the business off the ground, I'm better to use grandpa's stocks to get the $5,000 because he doesn't have to part way with any money. He could still earn the interest on the stocks like he was before. The only thing that happens is if I default on the money, then they take the $5,000 from his stocks. So you can't lose, because one way taking $5,000 for grandpa puts him out of $5,000, but this way he still keeps his $5,000. And the only way he loses is if I fail to pay back the money. So use your assets or the assets of others, like 401k, IRA, stocks, or bonds. Okay. If you need purchase orders to do what you need to do, you can get purchase order financing right from the beginning. And they don't even care about consumer credit check if you have purchase orders. So we've helped people get their business off the ground because, again, they came in and had purchase orders. They didn't have the money to get the business started, but they had purchase orders. So that could be an asset for you. Maybe you already have equipment or you already have inventory. Those things could be assets to help you get money. Maybe you have none of those things. Well, then what else is your asset? Do you have the ability to talk to people? Are you good pitchman? Well, then maybe you should pitch to investors. Are you artistic and inventive and you're coming up with something creative? Well, then create a product that can go to crowdfunding. Play on your strengths. It's a good option. Okay, so there are many ways to get funding. Some of these depend on your industry. They may also depend on your time in business or your ability to secure collateral. So there's all kinds of variables here. So one we kind of briefly talked about, 401k financing. You use an existing 401k or IRA as collateral to get financing. Okay, there's no tax penalties because it's an IRS proven strategy, and the interest is low. When you're starting a business, you need to have low interest rate funding. This interest rate's less than 5%. You can get a loan and a credit line. And the best part is, again, you can use yourself or somebody else that has a 401k to do this for you. So if you have anybody around you that may be interested in investing, it's a way for them to invest in your business where they only lose if you default. You can get this pretty quickly, and you can get up to 100% of the value of what's into a 401k. So no consumer credit score requirements. Startups can get it. You don't need a tax returns. You don't need bank statements. You don't need cash flow verification. So it's really perfect, especially for anybody starting the loan up. And again, you can get 100% of what is in the value of the 401k. That's rollable, meaning that if 401k is attached to another employer, the other employer might not let you use it. It's their call, not yours or mine. But that's, again, 100% of what's rollable that you can use, you can get financing against. Securities financing. So this is where you can use stocks and bonds to do what we just talked about, okay? You can even use somebody else's stocks and bonds to do this. So why am I telling you somebody else? Here's why. If 75% of entrepreneurs get money from other people, then you need to think about other ways and better and easier ways to get money for other people. Because let's be honest, parting with cash to anybody for the idea of starting a business is a little tough to do. But if I can depart with just letting you have access to $5,000 of my stocks, and if you default, well, then I lose my $5,000, there's less risk for me. And if there's great enough return, like you're giving me some kind of ownership interest in the business or telling me I'm going to make 25% on my money within a certain set period of time, then the risk may outweigh, or the reward may outweigh the risk and things like this. This is why you got to consider these options. Personal credit quality doesn't matter, and there's no consumer credit checks for this kind of financing. Angel investing, we talked about this. So angels are essentially informal investors. They generally invest in the start of a company, and it's often a way swap for equity. That's what angels typically do. First of all, venture capital is not what you're typically going to get into as a startup. That's usually when you have a product and you're making sales and you're already proven concept. Angels are the ones that you use in the very beginning, and they're going to want some of your equity in return for the money. First thing you need to know. Second thing you need to know, their investments are not big. It's very common for angel investors to invest $5,000, $10,000. These are not the guys you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, there are angel investing networks, and those networks pull together a bunch of people with smaller amounts of money to help you get larger amounts of money. But you need to know that how much money you need will depend on how much equity you're willing to part with. So you're going to have to give a partial ownership for the business. So keep in mind, that's about the two options you have when it comes to getting money. Okay. You can either get with an angel that's going to take part of the business in return for the money, or you can come in and you can not give away any equity in return for the money, but then you have payments on the money. So you kind of have to choose. You're either going to pay the interest and pay fees, or you're going to just pay the angel back when you sell the business or have some kind of exit. So angels can also invest via crowdfunding platforms. Yes, your mother can even be an angel investor. Known angels are called affiliate angels, and you didn't know before are called unaffiliated. Remember, I told you that half of angel investing had to do with people you know. It's called affiliated angel investing. And unaffiliated is when it's people you don't know, where you're actually going to outside investors. And for the record, the outside investors, the unaffiliated angels, they like to see that you have affiliated angels. If you go to Joe Schmo and give him a pitch, and he knows that grandpa, grandma, and two of your friends are both in on this as well, and you have affiliated angels invested, they feel better because the people you know are willing to dive in and take the bet on you, then that makes them feel like it's more of a solid choice for them to do the same thing. Okay, so that makes a bunch of sense. So companies can connect to affiliated angel investors by just asking. Those are people you know, right? Okay, companies connect to unaffiliated angel investors in about the same way they came to connect to others who can help them they don't know, okay? It really comes down to advertising, business brokers, cold calling, intermediaries, and networking. So there are these angel investing networks that are willing to that you could be willing to go to. The rest of it is to hunt down and find the right angels. Okay, and then go after them with pitch decks. So there's stuff to learn here. You're going to have to learn how to do a proper pitch deck. Plenty of learning you can do on that. You're going to have to learn how to find the right angels. Plenty of ways you can learn this. And this is why you're going to get into starting a business. You have to be very acceptant and open to learning new information, to absorbing new things, to reading, to learning new things, because you're going to have to learn your way to success. That's the way most of us get here. Okay, almost all of us get here. So again, coming in and reading and figuring out how to make your pitch deck, how to best approach angels makes a lot of sense. But again, there are angel investing networks that make it easier than ever for you to actually get this done. Venture capital. So venture capitalists are going to give you money to build companies kind of when you're past a little bit of the startup phase. Okay, they want to see that you're high growth and high risk. That's nice. They understand that the people that have the biggest potential for growth also happen to be some of the riskiest investments. So that's what they're really looking for, is high potential, high risk. Fast growing companies that have an exit strategy. You got to keep in mind, when you're dealing with venture capitalists and angel investors, these guys care about getting their money back. They get their money back when you exit. An exit means you sell. An exit means you go public. An exit means you are out of the business, you get a big chunk of change, and they get a big chunk of change. They're going to want to make sure you have an exit plan. So if you're going to pitch to these guys, your pitch needs to say, in this many years, here's what I think can happen. I think we can do an IPO, i.e. go public. Or I think that we can sell in this many years, because that's what they're going to want to see, okay? They're going to want their investment typically recouped in about 3 to 5 years, and they're often going to want a larger piece of the business, even maybe sitting on your board than you would with angel investors. So angel investors are much better to start with, because as you start to get to this point, it's pretty practical that you may only have 20, 25% or so self-control your business. So we use Infusionsoft. I think one of the best CRMs that's out there. There's several of them. And when you look at this, I think that their CEO now has about 20% ownership stake in the business. He's given up about 80% to bring in venture capital into the business. Now, it might seem like, why would he give up 80%? Well, his business is now worth $1 billion. So would you rather have 100% of something that's worth $1 million or 20% of something that's worth $1 billion, right? So that's really what it comes down to, is that, you're going to have to give up larger stakes as you get larger amounts of money, which is why you really want to start with angels. So venture capitalists, they're going to look for a strong management team. They're going to look for a large potential market, okay? Again, this is the problem kind of with niching down. So an example of mine is I have a connection that had an opportunity to get in on Yeti when Yeti was looking for venture capital. And he turned down Yeti because the product was very expensive and they were very niched down to just outdoor sports type things. Yeti learned from this. Yeti rolled their product out more of something anybody could use. And now they've got, I would imagine, to be $1 billion plus business, because again, they found a way to serve a larger market. Well, that's contrary to what we talked about before. You have to find a niche market to be able to do well and thrive in, but you still need to make sure you have a product that has mass market appeal, to have not just be serving a very small group of people or venture capital. They're not going to want to jump in. A unique product or service with a strong competitive advantage. So VCs also look for opportunities in industries they have familiarity with, and the chance to own a large percentage of a company, because they want to be able to influence its direction. They feel like they can contribute value in a way that can help the business grow faster. That's why a lot of VCs get involved. They look at what you have and they go, dude, that's awesome. And I happen to have a lot of experience in that sector. And I feel like my experience can help you grow that to be bigger and faster than you're growing it now. So I want to invest in you, not because I just rely on your ability to do what you can do, but because I know I can provide value that can help you get it done. So that's where a lot of ventures come in. They've got so much money at stake. They want to know that they can help you build that business. So again, giving up more control is the price you pay for more funding and to have these kind of people come in. Grants. So grants are great because they're like scholarships, right? You don't have to pay them back. So HUD has some. Housing and Urban Development is one agency which has a lot of grants. Okay, if a business is not related to housing or city development, then it won't be approved with HUD. But if it is, then HUD grants are another means of getting funding. Okay, search for HUD grants here. Okay, at portal.hud.gov. Notices of funding availability include the contact, where to send an application. If you're applying for more than one HUD grant, it has to be a separate application under the correct NOFA. And HUD won't take a combination of those either. For more rural industries, try the USDA at usda.gov. The USDA doesn't just give grants to ranchers and farmers. They also give grants to housing and preservationists and providers, waste management companies, energy companies. So there's a lot USDA can help you with when it comes to grants as well. A state or local government may also supply grants, offer a partnership grant to the city, state, or town, ask for local government support for a project as well, and try to address the specific local government needs. So again, if you think about this, it makes sense. If you are a developer and you're going to go into an area in a city that's underdeveloped, then you provide a lot of value to them because that part of the city is underdeveloped. Let's say you're going to go and you're going to develop a whole block that's vacant, rundown houses. Well, that's obviously a huge benefit to a city. So whatever you're thinking about doing, if you're thinking about bringing a business to a part of town that doesn't have many businesses, you're providing great value to that actual city, to that town. So they have a lot of governments, a lot of grants for those purposes as well that you should look into. So you're going to have a grant proposal. These operate quite a bit like business plans. So again, if you follow my advice and built the business plan, you already have the basic components you need for a grant proposal anyways. A local address is often a bonus when applying for a grant. Again, if somebody's going to, you're going to apply for a grant, South Carolina, it makes a lot more sense for you to live in South Carolina, much tougher to get done when you live in Florida, for example. Okay, write a clear and short cover letter. Don't ramble and get to the point quickly, and check delivery requirements. What do they want? They want the application delivered by mail, by fax, by email. So again, when you get into each grant, they're going to have these requirements. Look at these requirements, because a lot of people lose on grants because they didn't read what they needed to read, and they missed one little small thing or two little small things, and now they missed out on a great funding opportunity. Don't let that happen to you by reading the small print. Unsecured business credit lines. Unsecured business financing is another possibility. Use your assets as collateral. These can be personal assets like we talked about with a 401k, business assets. We talked about all these kind of already, the equipment, etc. But you can also get unsecured business financing where you're getting 0% credit lines with stated income. So you can get them as startups. No financials are required, no tax returns or bank statements. You can get up to 150 grand as financing, even as a startup. Yes, we see people come in and get 60 to 100 plus all the time. You'll need to have a credit score of 700 plus. Really, it's about a 680 plus. Really, it's not credit score driven. It's really based on you having good credit, no derogatory items, no bankruptcies, no collections, nothing like that on the credit. Good utilization under 30% on your accounts, less than 6 inquiries in the last 6 months, for example. This is not a good option if you have poor credit. It only works for if you have good credit with that option, but it's the best option you're ever going to find as a startup, because you're getting credit lines you can use and reuse at 0%. These are credit lines you can take the cash out on. You could take the physical cash out. If you get 60,000 in funding, you could take 60,000 out of cash and do it at 0%. That's insane. Doesn't exist anywhere other than startups. And if any of this funding makes sense, then you can feel free to go to creditsuite.com/get funding. That's creditsuite.com/get funding. We can talk to you about all these options. We never charge you a dime of money to get funding. The lenders will all have their points and their fees, and we negotiate that to even get you a better deal. But we can talk through this stuff with you more often. Now, there is another option that's similar to this. And by the way, this option helps you build business credit. They give you about 5 lines. You can take the cash out. You get to 0%, as I mentioned, and then they report to the business credit reporting agencies. That's why I like it, because remember I told you the problem of using consumer credit to try to fund your business? Well, you don't deal with that same problem here. They report to the business credit reporting agencies, so you could max the credit cards out and have no impact on your consumer credit because they only report on your business credit reports. Your business credit reports are primarily based on how you pay, so as long as you're paying your bills as agreed, you're going to build good business credit as well as getting up to 150,000 in startup capital. Pretty cool way to go. A program not a lot of people know about, just so you know. So this is a good way to get in the door and get a competitive advantage when a lot of people don't even realize that kind of solution exists. Unsecured banks line of credit. Often alternative lenders are now offering lines of credit from 50 to 150 grand. Minimal documentation. So what do you typically need? Well, you typically need bank statements, 3 months or so. And nowadays, they'll even use artificial intelligence to plug right into your bank account with no documentation needing, not even a credit check to be able to get approved. They'll often, and sometimes they'll want to see tax returns. It depends on the amount you're going for, okay? So we have a credit line for 100 grand. When we first went in and got approved, we had no credit check. They approved us at 6 grand. When we supplied our tax returns, they gave us 30 with no credit check. And then we got up to 100 with no credit check, where we are now using the tax returns. But we see clients approved all the time under 30 grand with no tax returns. So some of these sources will want to see tax returns for higher amounts. Some will want to see them in general. Some don't even look at any kind of financial docs for approval. It just depends on the source you're going through. If you're looking for over 100 grand, yeah, you're probably going to need P&L, balance sheet, that kind of stuff. Look, let me teach you something about funding that's going to be one of the most important lessons you're ever going to learn. It's easier to get money from multiple sources than try to get all what you need from one. If you're trying to get 100 grand, you got a much better chance of trying to get 20 from 5 places than get 100 from one. Because the minute you get to 100 from one, they want a P&L, they want a balance sheet, they want tax returns. So again, I'm going to show you even using business credit here, and as we get into to 9, how to do that, where you can use multiple different types of sources to get the money that you need to minimize the actual cash you need access to. Okay, so again, these are easier to get than SBA loans. You're going to have to be in business 6 months to a year to get them. But if you've got good management of your business, if you're bringing in revenue and managing your revenue responsibly, not overdrawing your bank account, these are ones that can work for you even if you don't have tax returns. Okay, rates are low, 7 to 10%. And again, you could typically get approved for those. Even if you don't have great credit, we've even got options that don't require a credit check to get approved. We talked a little bit about crowdfunding. Kickstarter, Indiegogo gathers money from a lot of people instead of one investor. If the crowd likes an idea, they may decide to donate to the project. Good pitch is vital, and a good product is vital. Okay, so if you're a good persuasive speaker or writer, crowdfunding might be right up your alley. But again, it doesn't usually work with regular products. You got to have some kind of niche, something that's unique, something that's different. Crowdfunding doesn't need to be paid back, but read the fine print. Many crowdfunding platforms will give you all the money back if you don't meet the goal. Okay, so there's two kinds of funding in crowdfunding you should know about: fixed and flexed. Fixed means if you don't meet the goal, if you're trying to raise 10 grand and you don't meet 10 grand, then you have to give all the money back to the investors. They give it all back. Flexible means if you're trying to reach 10 grand and you only raise 8, they still give you the 8. So you need to know that. You need to know if they're fixed or flexible. Indiegogo is flexible, for example, and they typically take about 5% of whatever you raised for their fee. So get donors excited about donating. Evoke emotions. Okay. Novelty. A product or service is new or a spin on an old one. Urgency. They got to do it now. Scarcity. They can't get it anywhere else. Cool factor. It's unique. It's different. Okay. So it can be a rush. It can be disappointing. Organized campaigns do better. They're also more likely to fulfill the promises. So look, here's what you need to know about crowdfunding. There's two things that make crowdfunding work that you'll probably maybe not know about. One, the most successful of these campaigns that I've researched, and I've researched a lot, they all did two things that were pretty smart that most people don't know they're doing. One, they're already lining up donors before the project ever went live, meaning that it didn't just go live and they got all these donors from all these places. They already had lined up a bunch of donors to get part of it to begin with before it ever went live. And two, you and your donors and the other people that are in your social network are sharing it. You don't put a project up on Kickstarter and it go viral. It's not what happens, guys. You don't put a project up and it just goes viral. It's not what happens. What happens is the reason things go viral is that people understand that crowdfunding campaign platforms like Kickstarter promote campaigns that are getting a lot of attention. You have to get the immediate attention there. You have to control the media or your social network to push attention there to get people to start bidding. The more people start coming in and contributing money, the more places like Indiegogo see that it's popular and start showing it to more people, which brings you even more money. But the bottom line is, in the beginning, you're the one driving the social interaction that gets the people in to contribute money. It's your connections. It's your donors. It's all the work you did. Then when they see all this people coming in, their algorithms see that as a hot topic and they start promoting it to more people within their networks. And that's what really makes it explosive. So number 9, business credit. This is credit that's in the business's name. It's not in your own. It depends on your company's ability to pay. So you can get it even if your credit's less than stellar. Even if you have credit issues, you're still able to come in and get business credit. As a matter of fact, this is a catch-all. Anybody can get it. But look, I talked about a lot of those options today. Angel investing and crowdfunding and grants. If you're willing to put the energy in, then you can get these even as a startup, all these things. But business credit is another way you can get money even when you can't get typical funding. And if you can get typical funding, this is what will get you better rates and terms on the money that you will get. So if you don't have a good enough FICO score to qualify for other options, well, then it's time to start building business credit. The way I explain this to customers, look, is if your consumer credit sucks, which let's be honest, with entrepreneurs, a lot of times it does because we're risk takers. Our credit reflects that sometimes, okay? My credit's good. It wasn't always good. It was horrible when the the mortgage industry collapse. So I've been where I think a lot of you are now. Well, then you got to build business credit, build another asset, right? It's like a magician, look at this hand while you're doing something crazy with the other hand. So, hey, look at my business credit instead of looking at my consumer credit. Don't get me wrong. If you have credit issues, fix them. Work with a credit repair company. Work with it yourself to fix them. But at the same time, build your business credit because that gives you another asset, another strength that makes you lendable. You should be building business credit even if your FICO score is superb. Because again, business credit can help a business at any stage. It controls the rates, the terms, the pay that you're going to pay. Okay. Building business legitimacy pays off here. This is where, again, when it comes into getting the money and getting business credit, this is why those things we talked about at the beginning become so important. So many types of business credit, vendor credit. This is basically how you start building initial business credit. It's called trade credit, vendor credit. It's easy to get. There's no consumer credit pull, and a business needs to have about 5 or 8 of these kind of accounts to build an initial credit profile and score to move to the next step. So some of these include Uline and Quill and Granger, for example. Those are all vendors that will give you credit initially, even when you have none. Now, when you have 5 to 8 of these type of accounts, then you move on to revolving store credit. Okay, these will be places like Walmart and Amazon and Best Buy and all the places that you buy stuff from. Okay, sometimes in order to establish good store credit, a business will have to buy some things it doesn't need. Okay, so consider that. Look, when you're going to vendors initially, you may buy some stuff you wouldn't typically buy, but it doesn't matter. You're not buying it to get stuff. You're buying them to be able to build your initial credit profile and score that helps you establish the credit profile and score that helps make you lendable and get the credit you need. Now, fleet credit, once you have about 8 or 10 of these accounts, then you can start moving on and getting fleet credit, okay? And these are, actually, I just went through store credit. So store credit, again, this is where I come back to, you need to ask yourself what you need the money for. How much money do you need and what do you need it for? And here's why. If you tell me you need 10 grand, and a lot of people do this, I need a loan for 10 grand. What do you need 10 grand for? I need 2,500 bucks for payroll. I need 2,500 bucks for office supplies. I need 2,500 bucks for computers. I need 2,500 bucks for furniture. You do not need a $10,000 loan. What you need is a $2,500 credit card at IKEA to buy furniture. You need $2,500 at Dell, Apple to get computers. You need $2,500 at Amazon, Office Depot, or Staples to get supplies. And you need $2,500 in cash to pay payroll. So stop focusing on getting 10 grand from one source. Go build business credit. Business credit gives you the cards to buy just about everything you need, right? Fuel if you're an over-the-road trucker, and maintenance and repairs. And it gives you office supplies and furniture and computers and almost all the stuff you're going to physically need to buy for the business. You can actually use business credit to get, even Visa card, MasterCard for advertising, marketing. Then you're left with very few things that you can't use business credit for that you may need to physically get money for to do those things. So fleet credit's the next step. This is where you get Chevron, Sunoco, WEX fleet cards, okay? It's credit which helps you get vehicles maintenance done, fuel, vehicle repairs. If you're like me, I drive 20 minutes to work. I don't need fleet credit. Okay, I don't even have fleet credit. I don't have a fleet credit card for the business because we don't have a fleet of cars. We don't need this. I don't drive where I need to use this. But if you're an over-the-road trucker, well, then this becomes very important. So business credit, the type of credit that you're going to get really depends on what you need. Okay, again, a lot of these are fuel cards, repairs, maintenance, those type of things. Now, cash credit's about 14 accounts or more reporting. These are Visa cards, MasterCards, American Express cards. It's accepted in a lot more places than just store credit would be. And good business credit also helps you get loans. So that's the progression, kind of. You start with vendors, you move on to store retail credit, fleet credit falls in there in that mix, and then you move up to Visa, MasterCard. You can get all the way to the end in 4 to 6 months. And in the beginning stages, in 60 days, you're getting store and revolving credit. So that's a big deal. Because if you're opening a business and within 60 days, you can start to get Office Depot, Staples, Amazon, well, then you're able to buy most of what you need to get that business off the ground within 60 days as you're moving to cash credit, et cetera, down the road. And again, it's also going to help you get loans to get the best terms on financing. So recap, look for areas which need improvement. If you're trying to find a niche, if you haven't found one yet, match opportunities to your skills. What's something that you're passionate about that you actually know you have a skill set to be able to do well with? Set up your business with legitimacy in mind. Remember, that's what lenders and credit issuers are looking at. Find mentors, coaches, set up mastermind. Get accumulated knowledge from more people than just yourself. It's a guaranteed way to grow faster than you're ever able to do that on your own. Tell your contacts about your idea, because again, a lot of them may want to be angel investors. They may want to invest in what you're actually doing. Okay. Look for funding by leveraging personal assets as collateral, 401k, stocks, bonds, IRAs. Maybe you have equipment, inventory. Maybe it's yours. Maybe it's somebody else's that wants to let you leverage it. If you don't have those assets, what else do you have? Maybe you're creative and you could put together, maybe you're a salesman and you could go and pitch to angels. Maybe your asset is that you can come in and put together a killer crowdfunding platform that'll gather a lot of attention, and your assets that you have a huge social network, you can help make that campaign a success. Okay, seek angel investors, venture capitalists. Time to decide. Do you want to have no payments and give up a piece of your equity? Or do you want to have payments, borrowing money, and not give up a piece of your equity? If you want to give up equity, then start with angels. Move up to venture capitalists. Consider crowdfunding or grants. Grants don't have to be paid back. Crowdfunding some and sometimes doesn't. But crowdfunding is only going to work if you have a novelty, something is really rare, niche, different, unique, that stands out. Okay, unsecured business financing and business credit. Don't forget unsecured credit lines. If your strength is that you have good credit or a guarantor that does, well, then get in touch with us. We can help get you to a source. There's several of them out there that offer these unsecured credit lines up to 150 grand, or build your business credit, right? Remember, with business credit, anybody can get it. You can get it as a startup, and 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 individual limit credit cards can really help you do that. If you want more information on that and you're here with me live, well, we actually go live tonight. We have a webinar, and you can email us info@creditsuite.com if you don't already have the link. And we go webinar live tonight to talk through over 12 credit lines you can get for your business, and to map out in depth the steps to get building business credit. If you're not here with us live, well, then just go to our YouTube channel or just search YouTube for business credit. You'll find tons of training where we've taught you how you can actually do that. And again, love what you do. Don't try to pick out some business to see what make you the most money. I promise you, the sacrifice you're going to commit will be well above and beyond what you ever thought it will be. You got to be passionate, because you're going to have to live, breathe this thing for many, many years. And it's hard to do if it's something that you're not truly passionate about. So any questions? Reach out to us, 877-600-2487, 877-600-2487, info@creditsuite.com. Remember, we don't charge you a dime of money to get funding. Period. We can help you get loans. We can help you get credit lines. It never costs you a dime of money. We work with over 1,000 lenders. So if you go to creditsuite.com/get funding, we'll ask you a few simple questions to see what you can qualify for. You'll talk to one of our finance officers. We'll tell you all the funding that you can get now. Okay, even a bunch of options we didn't talk about today. And then from there, what we can help you do is we can help you get that money without charging you any money to do so. Again, the lenders are going to charge you points and fees and normal stuff, and we negotiate that down, but that's something that we can easily help you do. And don't forget, we got a bunch of free training on our social platforms that if you go to creditsuite.com, top right of the page, you'll be able to access. You can listen to us on iTunes on the fly. You can go to our YouTube channel where we have hundreds of videos that teach you how to get business credit, financing, how to get crowdfunding, angel investing. You interested in angel investing? Go to our YouTube channel, search angel investing. We have videos where we map out every single thing you need to know about angel investing. Okay. We have daily tips on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So check out our social channels and subscribe. There's a lot of cool information that we have there as well. Okay. Don't forget, I will be live Facebook Wednesday at 4:00 Eastern. So make sure that you go and tune in. If you haven't already, go to our Facebook, engage on our messenger, type in the letters EIN. We'll give you a free guide on building business credit, and then we'll notify you once a week when we go live, so you could be there and actually engage, have questions answered, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks, everybody. I hope this provides you some information that can help you get your business off the ground and get you the funding that you need. If you have any questions along the way, reach out to us and give us a call, 877-600-2487. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.